And Representative Drozdkowski and Mr. Chair, I feel like you are not showing proper respect to the people in the room, especially your comment about paying people who don't work. It certainly wasn't their fault that government was shut down, and there were certainly plenty of legislators who got paid for not working during that time. And Mr. Chair, if this was a committee hearing to discuss business taxation and the room were filled with businesses, I don't think that you would be making threats at the outset of the hearing to tell them that if they made any untoward noise, including laughing, that they would have to be ejected from the room. I think that you are not treating these people with respect. And I would just like to take a moment to welcome all of you here.
Representative Winkler, excuse me. I have said that to every committee meeting as a chairman before I've started. And I will continue to do that. This is no disrespect for anyone that comes before my committee. They need to know my ground rules as the chairman. Are you clear on that, Representative Winkler?
Mr. Chair, you threatened to clear the room when the audience laughed.
Exactly. And I will, if it gets ruly again or out of control, I will adjourn or take a recess and have the room cleared. That's my rules for my committee.
Mr. Chair,
when you run a committee, Representative Winkler, you can have your rules. But until you do, we'll live by my rules in this committee.
Mr. Chair, and to the members of the audience, I'd like to welcome you to the building that you pay for, and to have to come to the room and have an opportunity to speak and hear about an issue that directly affects your lives. And I'd like to thank you for the work that you do on behalf of the people of the state. And I'd also like to thank you for the work that you do in implementing all of the policy decisions that we so gloriously make here at the legislature. So thank you for coming. Be careful. So, Mr. Chair, Representative Drozdkowski raised this comparison with the private sector. And I wouldn't ask the commissioner or the assistant commissioner or deputy, assistant commissioner to have these figures at their fingertips. But it's pretty easy, Representative Drozdkowski, to do a little research. You can pull up CNN, Money Magazine is predicting that next year overall private sector employee raises will be 2.9%, which is considerably higher than what we're talking about here. If you look at the last 3 years, private sector total compensation has increased every year. Now, you might not notice that because most of that compensation increase has flowed to people at the very top of the business world. It hasn't flowed to most workers in the economy. So most people in your district have lost wages or have stayed flat. But total private sector compensation in the economy has increased every year by significantly more than what state government is increasing by. And if you look, this is an institute at Cornell University. I'm not sure what ILR stands for, probably labor relations. If you look, it's a very simple chart. If you look at the last 3 years, every single year private sector total compensation has increased more than public sector total compensation. Public employees, state employees, for the last 2 years have received no raise. And Representative Benson, you keep talking about the fact that there's no health care, no employee contribution to health care, but of course that's not true. People pay co-pays and deductibles. And all of these things are negotiated out. There's a question of there's premiums, there's co-pays, and there's deductibles. And if you have a pot of money, you can divide it up between those three things any way you want. It's all negotiated. So if you look at the broader context here, where even in the middle of this terrible recession, total private sector compensation is going up faster than public sector compensation. You look at people who have been without a new contract for 18 months. They've lost $65 million because of our failure to pass a budget. I don't think it's unreasonable to actually approve this contract today. Mr. Chair, for the last several meetings I've been at, the complaint has been, why is this negotiation taking so long? Why is this so slow? Why can't we get this done? Why can't we move on? Aren't these public sector workers getting a better deal by sticking to the old contract than they are if they would just move on to the new contract? Aren't they dragging their feet to get something better? And now it's ready for you. It's in front of you. You've had time to look at it. We have all day long, as Representative Lilly said, to get into this contract. But now, after it's taken so long, in your view, and after they've been getting this great deal by living under the prior contract, suddenly you don't want to move forward on it. You have to really understand that people might be a little bit confused in the audience, and occasionally that might lead to them verbalizing that a little bit. So, Mr. Chair, I think we're not really comparing things very fairly here. The question I have back to Ms. Holmes is actually a very specific one, and that's about health care. It's my understanding that if we do not approve the contract, we are actually going to be costing more in health care because we are not going to be getting the savings out of employee contributions that this new contract would otherwise require. Is that correct?
Ms. Holmes, before you answer that, when was the contract delivered to the committee? Officially delivered to the committee?
Mr. Chair, you have had a copy of the legislative version of this contract for some weeks, and I believe that's been available on your website. We typically do not give you the official signed copy until the day before the hearing out of consideration for the 30 days to give you the full 30 days. It was delivered to Mr. Hubinger yesterday, but you've had the legislative format for some time.
When was it ratified?
The agreement, I received notification of the ratification on July 30th. The vote by the AFSCME and MAPE members took place the previous week.
All right. I just wanted to clarify Representative Winkler's statement that we have had plenty of time to digest this, and in reality, you can't digest it until it's ratified and you know what's actually going to be in it. So we've had 10 days. 10 days as opposed to almost a year and a half, Representative Winkler. We haven't had time. That's why this meeting, that's why you're asking questions, everybody is. So now you can please move forward, Ms. Holmes, and answer.
Mr. Chair, you keep running this meeting. Mr. Representative Benson had a question, then you would kind of pile on with your own little question. Now Representative Winkler had a question, and you kind of editorialize. Is that how you work it in the Senate? I don't think chairs in the House do that. Is that allowed in the Senate?
When you're chair, it is.
So all's good and fair and love and war in the Senate.
I guess that's what it is.
It's probably a blessing you're down to your last 3 meetings. I figure you'll milk this for 3 days of per diem, perhaps.
We'll take a 10-minute recess.
That's it.